Did you hear the news that the longshoremen strike, the dock workers, is over? I'm surprised because I thought they were going to be in it for the long haul. I mean, they seem pretty pissed.
Crew here. These are union workers who are on strike. As you can hear, they are chanting. They have signs. There have been a few hundred of them all throughout the day here. They've been here since early this morning, and they say they plan to stay out here, effectively shutting down the ports until they get what they want.
3 days. They only struck for 3 days.
Potential economic crisis averted. U.S. ports getting back on track this morning after dock workers struck a tentative deal to end their strike. And
that's it. It's taken me longer than that to figure out what I was going to watch on Netflix, you know? But okay. So what made them decide maybe it was a good idea to end the strike?
You know, starting today, tens of thousands of union workers will return back to work after heading to the picket line on Tuesday. It's good news because the shutdown could cost the U.S. economy up to $4.5 billion a day, and a lengthy strike could have led to higher prices and shortages of goods ahead of the holiday season. The union released a statement on Thursday expressing they had reached a tentative agreement on wages, and they've agreed to extend the master contract until January 15th. That's when they said they'll return to the bargaining table to negotiate all the other outstanding issues. So here's what we know so far. Sources telling CNBC that under this tentative deal, workers will see a near 62% wage hike over the course of 6 years. The union, remember, had originally asked for 77%. This increase would potentially raise the top longshoreman's wage to just over $63 an hour at the end of that 6-year deal. That's an increase from $39 an hour. Now, NBC News has reached out to the union for any more details, but have not heard back. Now, President Biden also reacting to this deal, applauding the news, applauding both sides for coming together to reopen these ports, stating that Thursday's tentative deal represents critical progress toward a strong contract.
Obviously, I chose the wrong line of business. Pays pretty good, but my thing is this really going to be something that benefits the workers, like ending the strike? Because, you know, yeah, of course Biden wants to end it, but what about the workers?
Hundreds of port workers here and at Port Everglades in Fort Lauderdale will get back to work.
We reached somewhat of a partial agreement with the USMX. We got a pretty substantial wage increase over the next 6 years, so our members will be returning back to work. When automation is not implemented with the proper safeguards in place, it kills jobs. And at the end of the day, we all know that's what employers are trying to do.
Yesterday evening, when the announcement of a tentative deal came out, workers were seen hugging each other. Union heads releasing this statement. We have come to a tentative agreement on wages. We're on a 3-month extension. The picket is over and back to normal operations as of 8 a.m.
We feel good about what's to come in January, but right now we're just going to celebrate with the benchmark that we've reached so far.
One of the things about these strikes that they try to do is the corporations, the retailers themselves, for instance, they just try to use this as a way to make more money. You know what I'm saying? That's what they did in COVID, and that's what they do at every strike. Listen to this worker explain it for you.
The local ILA president saying,
We've saw an increase of containers coming in from January of this year. So the local retailers are already, their shelves are already stocked. It's just an opportunity for them to gouge the prices.
So they already banked up merchandise. The actual clamps in the supply chain wouldn't come till much later. And they were going to pass on those expenses to the people right away in order to make more profits. It's pretty much how it works. This guy's blowing a whistle. He's a whistleblower. I wonder if Joe Biden had anything to do with this. Yeah, did Joe Biden turn the screws on the union people? I mean, I know for sure they were putting some heat under Taggart's ass. That's the ILA, the International Longshoremen's Association union guy, the president. They were giving him some bad publicity.
ILA union president, the guy who called the strike, Harold Daggett, leading the strike. Now we're learning more about his lavish lifestyle.
Cheryl Casoni from our sister network Fox Business is here to break it all down. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, good morning to both of you. And he does have a bit of a lavish lifestyle, homes, yachts, a Bentley. Ooh. Let's get into this. So first let's talk about his salary. He makes a nice salary. Last year, this president, Harold Daggett, of course, he runs ILA, raked in $900,000, according to union filings from the Department of Labor. For comparison, the average union dock worker makes about $81,000 each year. Now, let's talk about the homes that he owns. He's got a $2.4 million home, Sparta, New Jersey. He's got a Bentley, which he's been known to drive around town in. He's also got a $1.4 million home, according to Newsweek, in Highland Beach, Florida. Elon Musk made a really interesting post on X. He said, dude has more yachts than me.
Wow. So Elon just kicked Daggett in the yacht. That had to hurt. Yeah, but Elon, you own starships. You own space shuttles. And how many electric cars? And we got to keep this in perspective. Daggett is a working guy who's making a lot of money for a working guy, right? I know he's a union president, but he's still a worker guy, right? It's not the same thing. When I started looking up the corporations, the CEOs of people that may use the services of the longshoremen, the shipping companies, yada, 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 yada. As you know, they're making a lot more money than Daggett. I mean, most of these salaries are undisclosed. The Costco's, the Maersk, the Lloyd, forget the names of these companies, but these are big companies. The only couple CEOs that I found, one was at 4.1 million, the other one was at 7 point something. And those numbers were back in the 2021. Yeah, when you're making a lot of money when you're a CEO of a publicly held company, when you can't find out what your salary is online. Yeah, it's an obscene amount of money that these corporations, these CEOs and presidents of these corporations that pay the dock workers are actually making. The house always wins. And it's always stacked towards the big time corporations, not the small guys. So you always got to go to bat for the worker.
Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you.
Focus is not on Daggett, even though that's what the media wants you to do, because the media isn't being able to. Who is the corporate media working with? You think they're working with the working guys? You think they're working with the dock workers, the longshoremen? Nah. They're lining up behind the corporations. So any of the spin is going to spin negatively towards the longshoremen. You got to know this. But you know what? The thing that bothers me about this is Joe Biden. Yeah, see, I think Biden had something to do with it because Biden has a reputation for sticking his nose into these types of things. Remember the railroad worker strike a couple years ago?
U.S. railroad workers are close to striking on Friday over demanding schedules and working conditions. Employees are bargaining for everything from time off to sick pay to raises.
Just guys that simply want to be home with their families and, every once in a while at least, and be able to go see their doctor and schedule appointments and things like that.
People were talking mess about that. They were saying how this was going to ruin the supply chain. It was going to cost all this money. Meanwhile, they have jobs that they have paid leave. So, yeah, they don't care because it's not them that has to work all the time or get docked. And then Joe Biden, he steps in and he signs, he didn't sign an order. They passed it through Congress that since this was a critical infrastructure type thing, the president has the authority to be able to say, or Congress has the authority to say, hey, we can force them to come back to work. Literally force them to come back to work.
Today, President Biden signed a bill preventing rail workers from going on strike next week. The new law forces rail companies and workers to accept a deal the White House helped to negotiate in September. It comes just days before a strike, which could have had a major disruption on the economy.
Oh, this was a tough vote for members of both parties. It was a tough for me, but it was the right thing to do at the moment.
In the case of the railroads, it was the Railway Labor Act of 1926, which gave the United States government the ability and authority to force the railroads to go back to work because it's so detrimental upon our national economy. They got a similar law in place for docks or longshoremen. So for the dock workers, it's an act called the Taft-Hartley Act, which gave the U.S. government the ability to say, hey, guys, you got to go back to work. I think what it was is Joe Biden did not want the added stigma of forcing the whole industry to go back to work and not be able to use their union demands because, he wants to be, or he's been projecting his image to be this guy who fights for unions.
New law includes pay raises for railroad workers, but doesn't include 7 days of paid sick leave, something railroad labor unions have been fighting for.
They are one of the few industries in America today that have 0 sick paid leave.
But when the unions needed him, in the case of the railroad workers, he was on the side of the corporations. I think he was there again, but let's get this done nice and clean, and I don't want to look like I'm there, because the last time when he sided with the corporations over the workers, there was a big train wreck, and that was kind of embarrassing, wasn't it, Biden?
This morning, an NTSB hearing is underway to understand what went wrong in the catastrophic Norfolk Southern train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio in February. One first responder detailing the chaos at the scene, testifying he didn't know the train was carrying toxic chemicals and his team did not have the proper equipment.
It was dark, the fire. There was no possible way to determine what was, on fire and what cars were derailed.
Early on, it was determined a wheel bearing failed moments before 38 cars derailed and caught fire, releasing hazardous chemicals. Many residents were evacuated, but even after months of being back, many fear for their health.
I feel like people that might want to get out can't get out. I feel that just people are afraid for their own safety.
After a year of criticism, President Biden finally did show up. His appearance was brief, forced, and scripted. He met with a select few and then left. We needed so much, and he delivered so little. I know a thing or two about train wrecks now, and let me tell you, that's what the Biden administration has been.
The man has a point. Look, some people say that Joe Biden got this deal done because he wanted to help Kamala. I don't think so. I don't think Joe Biden much likes Kamala, and I believe that Joe Biden is more concerned with his own legacy than anything else. Be that as it may, what does this got to do with the dock workers? Well, look, I think with the dock workers, you can't look at what Daggett's making and make adjust or a movement towards trashing him because the media is trashing him. The media is going to trash the workers. That's what medias do. If you don't know divide and conquer strategy, you need to learn about it. Read up on it because that's what they're doing. And Daggett's a good target. But the point I want us to look at is the automation aspect of this. Yeah, this is not the only industry that's going to be hit with automation options. And the corporations are going to damn sure want to automate because it saves money, it's more efficient, and it saves money. And oh yeah, did I mention it saves money? I remember when Andrew Yang came on the channel, we talked about it. I interviewed him, and we discussed how automation was going to impact the trucking industry and how it just made sense. And at some point, we got to grow up as a country and say, hey, we need a universal basic income. We need to give our people money because they're going to end up in jobs. A lot of them are going to end up in jobs that are going to be automated out of existence, and everybody can't go learn how to code. Okay? So they got robots that can pick up these containers and move them and do this and do that, and it's what's going to happen. And it's happening to the truck driving industry. They're trying to hold it back because truck drivers is a very important job in our ecosystem of careers and how people pay for their bills and maintain their families. But it's going away because of technology, man. And the thing about technology is the genie's out the bottle and it ain't going back in, man. The toothpaste out the tube, you can't put it back. You got to use it. So yeah, technology's here. It's not coming, it's here. Universal basic income, federal jobs guarantees. Open your head up to other ideas about how people make it. This is not the 1800s or the 1900s. We're in the year 2024. We need better solutions. We got AI, we got robots, we got all this stuff, and it's here. And yeah, all industries will be impacted. And they were able to slow it down, but that's just for a moment. Because whether you work on the railroads or whether you work on the docks, you can't stop time. You can't stop technology. But I'm on the side of the workers, so always stay on the side of the workers. All right, my name is Tim Black. Subscribe to this channel. Become a member today.